What's up, guys? It is Super Shaw here, and today is going to be my NFL preseason week 2 predictions of the 2019-2020 season. Now, I know a lot of my predictions from last week, some were correct and some were incorrect. But it's the preseason, who you expect to win is not going to win all the time. But it went fairly well. So this is just going to be just like week 1 predictions. And I know the first game for this week will kick off really shortly, in an hour actually. So it's going to be really soon here. So, I'm excited to start this week, even though it's not the regular season. It's coming closer and closer. So, that was my beginning announcement. So, let's go ahead and get started with the first preseason week 2 NFL game this week. Our first game this week, we have the Philadelphia Eagles and the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars looked ugly last week. You should have seen how horrible they were. The Ravens actually blew the heck out of them, and they lost really badly. And that's what made them drop so badly. They didn't even have Nick Foles in the game, which does make some sense, but also at the same time it doesn't make any sense at all. So, with that being said, I will just give this to the Philadelphia Eagles because I'm not saying the Jaguars will get blown out again, but they will not win this game. So I'm going to give this to the Philadelphia Eagles. Our next game, we have the New York Jets versus the Atlanta Falcons. Now, these teams both lost their first preseason game. Falcons lost their second as well. Will they turn it around? I don't know. The Giants beat the Jets last week, which was kind of surprising, but not by much. So with that being said, I think the Atlanta Falcons will pull it off this time, but I do not think it will be a blowout. It will be a really close game, and I have a feeling this will be mainly a defense game. It's going to be like a defensive game with not many points on the board. So I will just give this to the Atlanta Falcons for this game. Our next game, we have the Oakland Raiders versus the Arizona Cardinals. Now the Cardinals, both of these teams played really well and beat really tough teams that will be good during the regular season. Raiders played the Rams and literally beat them by about, I think it was 11 points. Yeah, we beat them 14-3. And the Cardinals ended up beating the Chargers by only a few points. And I feel like with this being a good game, I believe the Oakland Raiders will still take it because they are going to be the better team. But I feel like both of these teams will have an offensive game. I know the Raiders game was pretty defensive. We didn't have way too many points on the board. The Rams just looked ugly, by the way. They only had 3 on the board. But we kept turning the ball over. But that was just last week. So with this game I'm looking at, I will just give this to the Oakland Raiders this week. Next preseason game, we have the Miami Dolphins versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now the Dolphins got a good win over the Falcons by about 7 points, and it was pretty good, a lot of points. The Buccaneers almost beat the Steelers, but I feel like they're still not going to be able to handle the Dolphins. I feel like the Dolphins will barely beat them, and it will be another barely loss. A barely close loss by the Buccaneers once again. So I believe the Miami Dolphins will take this game, even though it will be really close. Next game, we have the Cleveland Browns versus the Indianapolis Colts. The Browns played the Redskins last week. The Redskins just looked awful against the Browns. The Browns literally blew them out 30-10, I believe. The Colts did not have a very good game against the Bills. They kept having a lot of turnovers. I think it was the second or third quarter of the game. It was around the middle of the game, but they still could not win. So, with that being said, I still have the Cleveland Browns winning, but I believe it will be pretty close this time. I believe the Colts will try their best to recuperate this week, but I believe it will not be enough to beat the Browns, so I will just give it to the Cleveland Browns this week. Our next game, we have the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, the Chiefs played the Bengals last week, and the Bengals looked ugly, and the Steelers barely beat the Buccaneers last week. I believe this will be another blowout. I believe the Chiefs will actually beat the Steelers by a good bit. I believe by kind of close to the same way they beat the Bengals. I believe the Chiefs will handle the Steelers like they're trash, and it's going to be bad. So with that being said, I just believe the Kansas City Chiefs will take this game, so I will just give it to them this week. Next game, we have the Dallas Cowboys versus the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams are just not looking their best. Cowboys, they're not really looking their best either. So I believe this game will be kind of unpredictable. I believe this will be the most unpredictable game of this week. But I believe the Rams can barely pull it off. I just have that feeling that the Rams will barely beat the Cowboys. So I believe if they can pull themselves together from last week against the Raiders, which would be us, then they will probably win this game. So because they will be the better team, I will just give it to the Los Angeles Rams. Next game, the Seattle Seahawks versus the Minnesota Vikings. This game, I feel like, will be a really good game to watch. I think this game will be really good. But the Vikings, yeah, they played the Saints and they beat them. They ended up coming off with a win. Seattle came off with a win against Denver last week. And I believe the Seahawks still will take it, though. I believe they will barely beat the Vikings. But it's going to be a really, really, really scoreful game, that there will be 20 to 30 points from each team. So I believe the Seahawks will win, so I will just give it to them this week. Next game, we have the Buffalo Bills versus the Carolina Panthers. Yeah. Panthers beat the Bears last week. Bills beat the Colts last week. But I believe the Panthers will take it because they are the better team. But barely. I feel like this will be an upset game because I would say the Bills will be a little better, but the Panthers will get an upsetted win at home. So I will just give this to the Carolina Panthers. Next game, we have the Chicago Bears versus the New York Giants. The Giants ended up beating the Jets, and the Bears ended up losing to the Panthers, which were mentioned just then. But I believe the Giants will win again. I don't know why, but I just feel like they're going to pull it off again because the Bears just looked horrible in the preseason. They looked horrible playing the Panthers, and it was not a good result. So I believe the New York Giants will take this game by a good lead. I feel like this is going to be a great game to watch, but the Giants will get another upsetted win. So I will just give this to the New York Giants. Next game, we have the New England Patriots versus the Tennessee Titans. Now, I believe this game will be a good game to watch, but as always, I believe the Patriots will take the game. I mean, Titans usually have had a pretty good record against the Patriots, but I believe that the Patriots will just trample them this time. So even though this will be a good game, I will just give it to the New England Patriots by it won't be a blowout. I believe it will not be like the Patriots blew the heck out of the Lions. It'll just be a good game. So I'll just give it to the New England Patriots because they are better. Next game, we have the Detroit Lions versus the Houston Texans. Now, yes, the Lions got blown out by the Patriots. The Texans barely lost to the Packers. But I believe this will be a close game. But I believe the Texans will take the game at home in Houston. So I believe it will not be a blowout, but I will give it to the Houston Texans because they will be the better team during this situation. Next game, we have the New Orleans Saints versus the Los Angeles Chargers. Yes, I know what you're thinking. Both of these teams, great teams, lost last week. But I believe the Los Angeles Chargers can take the game. I just have a feeling that with their outstanding offense, even though they don't have Phillip Rivers, unless he is called to the field, but I believe the Chargers can take it. I believe they will take this game. But it will be a close game. It will be a really offensive game. I believe there will be lots of points on the board. But at the end, I believe the Los Angeles Chargers can take this game. Next game, we have the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Washington Redskins. Now, both of these teams look really awful. But I believe the Redskins will take this game. I believe they will beat the Bengals by a good bit, but not to a blowout. But I believe it will be a pretty good win. So with this being said, I will just give this to the Washington Redskins. Next game, we have the Green Bay Packers versus the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens blew the heck out of the Jags last week. Packers barely got a win. But I believe the Green Bay Packers will take this game. But barely. I believe it's going to be a close game. And it's going to be a really defensive game. So I will just give this to the Green Bay Packers by another 2-point win. That's what I predict this week. And the final NFL preseason week 2 game, being the Monday night game, we have the San Francisco 49ers versus the Denver Broncos. I believe the 49ers will take this because they will be better. But the Broncos have been not doing too well. But they did barely beat the Falcons during the Hall of Fame game. So I will just give it to the 49ers this week. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And tell me what you think about your predictions of mine. And I will see you guys later. Bye.